My roommate Hiyue told me that a ghost kisses her every night. I didn't think so and joked that she was having a spring dream. Kihayu's expression was not joking, and the next day she was hit by a car and died. That night I actually felt someone kissing me. I had just returned from a business trip when Hiyue grabbed me and mysteriously told me. Last week, she was half asleep every night, feeling like someone was kissing her. Since I was on a business trip last week and didn't come back, there were only 3 people in the shared apartment, so the person who kissed him could only be our other roommate Zhu Rong. As soon as I heard it, I felt it was impossible. Zhu Rong is a postgraduate entrance exam candidate, leaving early and returning late every day, and his mind is focused on studying. It is impossible for him to do such a thing. I said she must be dreaming, but Hiyue insisted that someone must have kissed her. When Zhu Rong came back that night, Hiyue found her and wanted to clarify the matter in person. Zhu Rong was already under a lot of pressure, and she trembled with anger as soon as she heard it, saying that Hiyue had delusions. The 2 of them argued fiercely, and no matter how I tried to persuade them, it was useless. In the end, Hiyue packed her luggage and wanted to move out. Before leaving, she pointed at Zhu Rong and said to me, "Lulu, I advise you to move out quickly and not be roommates with this pervert." After saying that, Hiyue slammed the door and left. That night, I tossed and turned in bed. Hiyue has a bit of a princess temper and is not easy to get along with on weekdays, but she is not a liar either. Zhu Rong also looks like a very normal person, and I don't think he would do such inexplicable and abnormal things. Feeling is feeling. Just in case, I took out the DV for work, put it by my bed to record, and then crawled into bed. Nothing happened all night. When I woke up in the morning, I stretched lazily and felt a little relieved. The door was suddenly open, and the person who rushed in was Zhu Rong. She had a ghostly expression on her face and asked me with difficulty if you came to my room to kiss me last night. I suddenly got goosebumps all over my body. Luckily, I left a DV video last night. I quickly took out the evidence to prove that I slept in bed all night and never left my bedroom. Zhu Rong's face became even uglier, repeatedly saying that someone must have kissed her last night. I murmured, "Are you really not dreaming?" She suddenly turned her head to look at me. Her pupils dilated due to excessive fear. "Sister Lu, think about it. Would Hiyue and I have the same dream? Now I also feel extremely uneasy." Zhu Rong immediately contacted Hiyue, but no matter how he called or texted her, she did not reply. Maybe Hiyue still misunderstood that Zhu Rong was angry with her, so it was my turn to call, but Hiyue still didn't answer the phone. Zhu Rong's face became increasingly pale, and she began to pack her things, murmuring nervously that she couldn't live in this house while tidying up. I quickly stopped Zhu Rong and asked her what was going on. Zhu Rong's face looked as ugly as a dead person. Under my continuous questioning, she hesitated and told a secret. This room had an accident before. At first, a single father lived here with his daughter, but when they were robbed, both of them died tragically, and this house became a haunted house. The landlord is Zhu Rong's aunt. Since then, the house has been idle for 10 years. After Zhu Rong was admitted to college, he insisted on living in the house because it was close to the school. She is a person who does not believe in superstition and thinks that feudal superstition is harmful. So she not only lives in it herself, but also rents out the other 2 bedrooms. Zhu Rong said sorry to me, then refunded the rent to me and asked me to move out quickly. After saying that, Zhu Rong pulled her suitcase and left as if running for her life. She seemed unwilling to stay in this room for a moment. I stood still, a bit silly. As an atheist since childhood, I suddenly heard such a strange statement and couldn't react in time. But Zhu Rong, as the landlord, has already run away. I estimate that he will not let me rent this house again in the future, and living alone in such a haunted house is indeed a bit scary. Thinking of this, I also simply packed a small bag and planned to stay at my boyfriend's place for 2 days. I had just walked to the entrance of the community with my bag on my back and saw a group of people gathered there with ambulances and police cars parked next to them. An ominous premonition rushed into my heart. There was a large pool of black blood on the ground next to a suitcase that had been crushed by a car, and that suitcase belonged to Zhu Rong, who was dead. According to witnesses, Zhu Rong was like he was possessed by an evil spirit. He rushed straight into the road after leaving the community, and then was hit by a large truck with his head separated from his body and died on the spot. I was scared silly all over. Just then my phone rang and a haggard voice came from the other side. She asked me if I was Yu's friend, and I quickly said yes. She is Yu's mother. When she saw me calling Yu's phone many times, she came back to me. Yu's mother told me that Yu had died. I was extremely shocked at this moment. The sun was shining brightly, but I felt a chill all over my body. Yu left the rental house and returned home. That night, Yu's mother heard a shrill scream from next door and hurried over to see it, but it was too late. Yu stabbed herself with scissors. After Yu's mother hung up the phone, I stood trembling at the entrance of the community. Suddenly, my phone rang again. It was my boyfriend Yahui. He said he would come to pick me up in his car, and I looked up and saw Yahui's car parked across the road. I ran towards him as if I had met a lifesaver. However, as I got closer and closer to the car, Yahui seemed to see my figure clearly, and suddenly shouted on the phone, "Stop for me." I was stunned. Yahui's tone was unprecedentedly serious. "Lulu, don't come over. Go back. Something is following you. If you keep going forward, you will be unhappy." I was scared silly. It wouldn't matter if someone else said this, but it was Yahui who said such words to me. His yin-yang eyes can see things that normal people cannot see. When I first started dating, Yahui told me about these things, and I just laughed it off and thought he was bragging. After seeing that I didn't believe in these things, Yahui never talked about them again. But at this moment, his words are extremely terrifying to me. I trembled and called his name. Now, if I take a few more steps forward, I can reach Yahui's car door. Yahui got off the car, showing an extremely reluctant expression. "Lulu, you must not go any further, otherwise that thing will be unhappy and will kill you. Your only way is to go back." I know his judgment is very likely to be correct. Yue and Zhu Long both moved out of the house immediately after realizing the abnormality, but they both died tragically. As Yahui said, the things in the haunted house got angry and he didn't allow us to leave, otherwise he would take our lives. I had to step by step return to that house, and at this moment, this ordinary rental house looks so eerie and terrifying. Yahui's voice came through the earphones. "Lulu, you need to calm down. I will help you find a solution. Turn on the video and scan this room for me." I did as Yahui said, and his face immediately became much uglier, saying that this house is a tomb for corpses. Yahui fell into self-blame. When I rented a house, he happened to be on a business trip and didn't come to accompany me to see the house. If he had come to see the house, he would never have let me stay here, but it's too late to say anything now. I cried and asked him, "So I can only wait to die?" He thought for a long time, suddenly remembered something, and asked me if the silk scarf he gave me at the Kixi festival was with him. I nodded quickly and found the silk scarf. Yahui breathed a sigh of relief, saying that his grandmother had cast a spell on this silk scarf, and asked me to cover it on my face when I went to bed at night, so that ghosts couldn't find me. If I couldn't find anyone for 7 consecutive days, I would think that there was no one in the house. At that time, I was running out, and he wouldn't follow me. That night I lay in bed and covered my face with a scarf. I couldn't sleep and forced myself to count with my eyes closed. Just as I began to fall asleep in a daze, I suddenly felt something blowing air on my face through a layer of silk scarf. I woke up in an instant, and all the hair on my body stood up, and my body seemed to be pressed down, unable to move at all. I opened my eyes and looked at the ceiling through a thin layer of silk scarf, but there was nothing. However, the feeling was incredibly real. I clearly felt someone bowing their head and pressing it against my face. His breath blew through the scarf like feathers onto my face. I gritted my teeth and restrained myself from screaming. I don't know how long it took. My breath finally disappeared. I was sweating all over, exhausted, and lost consciousness in a daze. When I opened my eyes, it was almost noon. There were more than 10 missed calls from Yahweh on my phone. I struggled to get up and called him back. Yahweh breathed a sigh of relief when he heard about my situation. He said that if I persist for 7 days like this, I will be saved. My mood also felt much more relaxed, and then I immediately felt very hungry, so I ordered takeout for myself. In order not to implicate the delivery person, I asked them to leave the food at the door and went out to get it myself. When I opened the door, I found that the delivery man had not left. The delivery person is a woman in her 40s. She took off her helmet and stared into the door, which made me feel uncomfortable. However, when I wanted to close the door, a woman had already bypassed me and walked into the room. She walked straight to my bedside, picked up the scarf, and I quickly stepped forward to stop her. The woman's face turned ugly and she asked who gave me this scarf. I said, "This is the silk scarf my boyfriend gave me." The woman shook her head and said, "This is a soul summoning flag. Wherever the soul summoning flag is, the ghost can find it. If you carry this thing, if the ghost comes to you, it will be as easy as a shark coming over smelling blood." After listening to her words, I was struck by lightning and stood still for a long time without being able to speak. The woman sighed when she saw me scared to death. She searched in her bag and handed me a small makeup mirror, asking me to hang it on the bedside with the mirror facing inward to save my life. After the woman left, I sat there in a daze for a long time, unable to come back to my senses. My heart was so blocked that I couldn't eat anything. I put the takeout the woman brought into the fridge, then went back to the bedroom and began to recall the bits and pieces between me and Yahweh. Suddenly, I remembered a detail that made me extremely panicked. It was Yahweh who came across the rental information of this house online and shared it with me, so I rented this house. Was it just a coincidence or intentional? Was my move into this house originally part of Yahweh's plan? Reason tells me that I shouldn't distrust my boyfriend for a stranger's words, but there is a feeling that something is wrong in my heart that is getting worse. Yahweh and I have only been together for 3 months. Due to his busy work and frequent business trips, we have been apart for a long time. He is my senior in college, who is also the president of the student union and the captain of the basketball team. He is handsome and wealthy, and is the object of many girls' secret love. I am a transparent junior sister in the same major as him. I added him on WeChat during a lecture and hardly contacted him. After graduation, Yahweh suddenly began to frequently, like my moments, chat with me on WeChat, and then invite me out to eat and watch movies, each time bringing various carefully prepared small gifts. 3 months ago, Yahweh, like magic, took out a bunch of roses and asked me if I wanted to be his girlfriend. At that time, I felt like I was hit by love and couldn't wait to nod my head, then plunged into sweetness. But now that I think about it, many details reveal that they are unreasonable, such as why Yahweh had no interest in me before, but suddenly began to pursue me fiercely after I graduated. Thinking of this, I sent a WeChat message to a well-connected college colleague, asking him to help me look up what happened to Yahweh before And then I began to use the Sherlock Holmes skills of women to search for Yahweh on social platforms. I have always known about Yahweh's Weibo, but he doesn't update much, and I rarely check it. After flipping through his old posts, I opened his follow list, which has nearly 1,000 people. I pulled down all the way and suddenly saw a person I had never expected. Zhu Rong. If I hadn't deliberately searched, I would never have noticed that Yahweh followed Zhu Rong, because Zhu Rong was almost at the bottom of his follow list. That is to say, as early as 7 or 8 years ago, when Yahweh first registered this Weibo, he had already followed Zhu Rong, and Zhu Rong also followed Yahweh. They have known each other for many years, so Yahweh did not accidentally come across the rental information. He deliberately let me live in this house. Thinking of this, my hands and feet were cold, and I could hardly control the trembling of my body. I had never thought that my roommate and my boyfriend were old acquaintances before, and now Zhu Rong has died outside the community. Even if I want to ask him, I will never have the chance again. Of course, I can still ask Yahweh, but is what he said still worth believing? Just then, Yahweh's video came over, and his tone was as gentle as ever, reminding me to continue covering my face with a scarf tonight. I don't know if it's psychological, although Yahweh's expression and tone are similar to usual. I suddenly feel that he is so unfamiliar. My teeth tremble, and it takes a long time to whisper a good word. Yahweh noticed that my face was extremely pale, but living in this haunted house itself was an extremely scary thing, and it was normal for me to be afraid. He gently comforted me, saying that as long as I did as he said, everything would be over in 6 days. After hanging up the phone, I trembled as I picked up the mirror that the woman had left for me. In the evening, I curled up in the quilt and placed the mirror on the bedside table. Before going to bed, I searched online and found that mirrors have indeed been used to ward off evil spirits since ancient times. I suddenly felt that the female delivery person's words were somewhat credible. I thought I wouldn't be able to sleep, but probably because I couldn't eat and was too scared these days. My body was very weak, and I lost consciousness when I stuck to the bed. I slept until midnight and suddenly felt a strange touch on my lips. I was startled and completely awake. It was a ghost kissing me. In an instant, I deeply regretted that when I covered my face with a silk scarf, the ghost was only breathing above my head. Now, using that woman's mirror, I am completely targeted by the ghost like the other two roommates, which shows that the mirror is actually useless. I was filled with regret and didn't have time to touch the silk scarf I threw aside. As a result, my body felt like it was filled with lead and I couldn't control it at all. I didn't touch the silk scarf, and my elbow hit the mirror on the bedside table. The mirror that was originally facing me was turned around with a thud and turned to face the bed. I instinctively glanced at the mirror, and my soul almost flew out of the sky. I saw a bright face reflected in the mirror. It was a man, a gloomy and pale face, staring at the mirror motionlessly. I screamed and frantically knocked the mirror out, hitting the corner of the wall with a crisp cracking sound. A man's shot came from the air, and then the room became quiet. I sat on the bed, my hair disheveled, gasping for breath uncontrollably. After the man's shot, there was nothing unusual in the room. I could hear my breathing and sobbing, and the previous cold touch disappeared. I picked up my phone and wanted to call Yahweh, but for some reason there was no signal. I held the phone and cried while waiting for the signal to recover. I lost consciousness at some point. I don't know how long it took, but I was awakened by the sound of knocking on the door, and I jumped out of bed in fright. The sky was already bright, and the sunlight shone in through the window. I ran to the door and looked out through the peephole. To my surprise, it was the female deliveryman. I didn't dare to open the door and asked her what was wrong through it. The female deliveryman said she came to this building to deliver takeout, passed by my door on the way and asked if I was okay. I made a trick of it and couldn't explain it clearly in a few words, so she came to see me in the evening. After the female deliveryman left, I had just walked to the bedside when Yahui's phone call came in. I don't know when the mobile signal was restored. Yahui's voice sounded very anxious. He said he had been calling me and couldn't get through. He was so anxious that he almost went crazy. He asked me to open the video. As soon as I turned on the camera, Yahui's face changed drastically. He asked me if I hadn't covered my face with a silk scarf. I nodded with red eyes and asked him how he could tell. Yahui was so angry that his face turned pale. He loudly told me that before, that thing was just following me, but now it was riding on my neck. The cold air rushed from my head to my spine, and I burst into tears, unable to say a complete sentence. Yahui also became angry and scolded me for not listening to him. While sobbing, I stuttered and organized my words, telling Yahui about the female delivery person. As soon as I finished speaking, Yahui took a deep breath. He probably realized that my emotions couldn't be further stimulated. He took a deep breath for a long time, calmed down, and then questioned me why I would rather believe a strange woman than him. Was it because I wasn't good enough to you usually? I cried and shook my head, telling Yahui that it wasn't like that. It was just that he was the goat to me, and it was too sudden. I couldn't understand why such a shining person would suddenly be attracted to me, who was mediocre, and he knew Zhu wrong. All of this made me feel too suspicious. After listening to my story, Yahui sighed deeply. He told me that he was indeed childhood friends with Zhu Rong. At that time, Zhu Rong was renting this house and knew that I was looking for a house, so he sent it to me. The reason why he didn't mention his acquaintance with Zhu Rong was because he was afraid that I would be jealous of my opposite-sex friends and would get angry and not rent this house. Yahui apologized to me. He said it was his fault. Did not come to personally inspect this house. He and Zhu Rong are elementary school colleagues. Always thought Zhu Rong was good. Did not expect Zhu Rong to rent out such a haunted house. As for suddenly pursuing me, Yahui repeatedly explained to me that he didn't pay much attention to me when he was in school. But after I graduated, he saw my moments and found me an interesting junior sister. The company was in the same city, so he wanted to get in touch with me. As a result, he fell in love with me quickly. Unexpectedly, the progress was too fast, which made me feel so insecure. Yahui's explanation was very sincere. The more sincere he was, the more guilty I felt. Finally, Yahui told me seriously not to believe anything the female delivery person said. She asked the mirror to be placed towards me, and the ghost crawled out of the mirror and locked my life directly. I asked Yahui, I have no grudges with that female delivery person. Why did she want to harm me? Yahui was silent for a moment, then told me a piece of information that made my spine tremble. That female delivery person is not alive. She is a ghost and can only wander in this building. After saying this sentence, the signal of the mobile phone inexplicably cut off again, and Yahui's voice disappeared into the empty room. I stood still, thinking to myself that this was impossible. He was just a deliveryman who delivered takeout to me that day. Thinking of this, I suddenly remembered that I hadn't opened the takeout yet and it was still in the fridge. I quickly rushed to the fridge and took out the takeout. It was a thick leather bag sealed tightly. As soon as I tore open the bag, I was immediately stunned. The takeout I ordered was not in the bag, but rather pastries, tribute fruits, and other offerings used by the living to sacrifice the dead, and even fragrant bamboo and paper money. I was scared and instinctively threw the paper bag out of my hand. Just as I threw the paper bag out, the door rang. I suddenly realized that this old building has a doorbell, but the female delivery person has never pressed the doorbell. Every time she comes, she knocks on the door and she knocks 4 times. Yahweh told me before that in Feng Shui, people knock 3 times on the door, and those who knock 4 times are ghosts. At this time, the female delivery person leisurely asked if anyone was home outside the door. I held my breath and didn't dare to breathe, trying my best not to make any noise. At this moment, the phone suddenly rang, and the ringtone sounded particularly harsh in the dark. Yahweh told me before that dirty things can affect radio waves, and my phone signal is probably also affected by her. From time to time, I didn't expect the dirty thing to ride on my neck, and I shivered again. The female deliveryman outside the door seemed to have heard her phone ringing. She asked me softly if I had arranged it as she said and if the mirror had reflected on her. Listening to this tone, does a woman know that I will take a photo of a man? I tremble all over. When a person is forced into a desperate situation, they gain courage instead. I bravely asked her if she knew who the mirror would reflect on. Do you know him? The woman sighed and didn't answer me. She said she sincerely wanted to save me. It's okay not to say that, but as soon as I said it, I completely exploded. I loudly asked her who she was, but I didn't know her at all. What reason did she have to save me? The woman sighed again and told me in a mournful tone that if her daughter Sasha were still alive, she would be the same age as me. In the early years, my mind was focused on hard work, and I was outside all year round. I was determined to earn a future for Sasha, but unexpectedly, my mother-daughter relationship became increasingly cold. Sasha hated him until she died, and now when I see her, I think of her daughter Sasha, so she wants to save my life. Whether she can survive or not depends on my own destiny. The woman's voice gradually faded away, and I touched my clothes and found that I had been soaked in cold sweat. After coming to my senses, I remembered to get my phone. The phone call was from my college colleague. Before that, I sent a WeChat message asking him to help me investigate Yahweh. As soon as I answered the phone, my college colleague scolded me. Lulu, are you crazy? Otherwise, why would you be with a like Yahweh? Before I answered the phone, I had actually decided to believe Yahweh after all. The fact that the female deliveryman was a ghost had been confirmed, but now my colleague's words suddenly made me realize that excluding deliveryman does not mean I can believe Yahweh. I quickly asked my colleague, what did Yahweh do? His colleague was furious. He said that Yahweh had been with the class beauty of his class when he was in college, and the two of them had a very good relationship. Yahweh once said that he would only marry the class beauty in his life. However, in the first half of this year, the class beauty was suddenly diagnosed with leukemia. Yahweh immediately dumped her. My colleague also asked me about the time when I was with Yahweh, and I was even angrier after asking. According to the time, Yahweh started pursuing me almost one day after he dumped the class beauty, which was a seamless connection. He cursed Yahweh on the phone as a beast. Yahweh had been with the class beauty for 4 years, broke up so heartlessly, and immediately found a new love. After hanging up the phone, I felt numb from head to toe. The female delivery person and Yahweh were not trustworthy, but I was in such a haunted house now. What should he do? It's already midnight, and for a moment, I really wanted to rush out of this room. But thinking about the way Zhu Rong's body was separated, my legs went weak and I didn't dare to leave rashly in the end. The surroundings were pitch black. I clutched my sleeves and was about to sleep, but I dared not use the silk scarf Yahweh gave me. The mirror left by the woman had also shattered. If I didn't handle it well, I'm afraid I wouldn't even survive tonight. Just as I was torn apart, Yahweh contacted me again. He didn't know that I already knew about his affair with his ex-class beauty. He just asked if I had verified that the female delivery person was a ghost. After I nodded, Yahweh breathed a sigh of relief and reminded me to do as he said and cover my face with a scarf. I hesitated for a moment, and with a crying voice, I told Yahoo to come and accompany me. Yahui's face turned pale for a moment. He said that the female deliveryman was wandering outside, and now the house was full of ghosts, which was to fears. I wiped away my tears and told him that I didn't care. I was too scared now and couldn't stay up until dawn alone. If he didn't come to accompany me, I might as well jump off the building. Yahoo saw me completely collapsed and said he was preparing something for self-defense. He immediately rushed over and hung up the phone. I came to the door and comforted him with a tentative whisper outside. Footsteps sounded in the corridor, neither light nor heavy, and he came to my door. We didn't speak, standing quietly through the security door. I know this is the female delivery person, as Yahoo said. She can't leave this building and has been wandering in the corridor all along. I thought for a moment and opened the anti-theft door. The female deliveryman outside the door looked at me quietly, and I turned to the side to let her in. Yahoo arrived half an hour later with a package containing some evil spirits, such as soybeans and lotus seed soaked in chicken blood, and a mirror. I looked down at the mirror and didn't say anything. I told Yahoo that I was hungry and asked him to cook me a bowl of noodles. Otherwise, I wouldn't be able to sleep hungry. Yahoo couldn't resist me and went to the kitchen to help me cook noodles. While he was busy, I hid all the other evil spirits in my quilt, leaving only the mirror. After a moment, Yahoo came out with a bowl of noodles and told me to eat and sleep well. Suddenly, Yahoo froze. The bowl fell from his hand and hit the ground, splashing soup. He stood still, feeling someone blowing gently in his ear. I was standing opposite Yahoo, so I saw this scene completely. The female deliveryman stood behind Yahoo, his breath gently spitting on Yahui's neck. In the blink of an eye, Yahoo suddenly pounced on the mirror, picked it up, and looked back at the female delivery person. The female deliveryman let out a scream and then disappeared, and a crack appeared on the mirror in Yahui's hand. He slowly placed the mirror on the table, gasping for breath, turned around and said to me, "It's okay." The words disappeared from his throat. Because I was holding a club high behind him, I smashed the club hard on Yahui's neck. Yahoo fell down with an incredulous look, and when he woke up, he was firmly tied up by me with a wet sheet. He struggled and looked at me incredulously. "Lulu, what are you doing?" I sat opposite him, my eyes very calm, and I told Yahoo that this was my only way. I couldn't believe the female deliveryman, nor could I believe Yahoo, so I chose to confront them. Now Yahoo has collected the ghost of the female deliveryman with a mirror, and I have tied Yahoo up again. Now I feel very safe. Yahoo looked at me in shock. "Lulu, what are you talking about? There are still dirty things in this haunted house. How could you think that controlling me and the delivery man would make you safe? These dirty things will hurt you." I shook my head. "The one who really wants to hurt me is you, Yahoo." I took out my phone and clicked on a photo, which was the information I found while waiting for Yahoo to come. I asked the name of the female delivery person, and then found her entrepreneurial interview before her death. In the photo, the female delivery person was the owner of a restaurant, and she smiled brightly at the camera. This is a couple's store, and the person in the photo with him is his husband, a middle-aged man with a somewhat gloomy face. This man is the male ghost I saw in the mirror that night. Next to them was a little girl with a ponytail, who seemed to be in elementary school and was very beautiful. In other words, the female delivery person who followed the two ghosts in the haunted house was actually a family. I whispered, "Staying in this haunted house these days, as long as my phone has signal, I will search for information in various ways, trying to piece together the past of this haunted house. I just finished the last piece of the puzzle, so let's start telling this story from the beginning. A woman once started a business with her husband, but the business failed, and she owed a lot of debt. The woman was unwilling and wanted to continue working hard, but the husband was already disheartened, so he divorced the woman and left with his daughter. In the following years, the woman continued to start a business, while the man rented the room with his daughter. Due to extreme frustration, the man began to drink and gamble, and even became addicted to drugs. But her daughter, Sasha, was well-behaved and pretty, and media reports said she was a girl who studied very well and had a good relationship with people, and teachers and colleagues liked her very much. I looked at Yahweh and asked if you also like Sasha, right? 8 years ago, when Sasha was in her first year of high school, her father, who was a creditor caused by gambling, sent thugs to kill the father and daughter. After that, strange events occurred frequently in this house, and everyone said that the souls of the father and daughter did not leave, so this house became a haunted house. The person who trapped the 2 women here is you, Yahweh. You didn't want Sasha to leave, so you tampered with this house, making it impossible for the dead to leave here. That's why you know Zurong. Zurong is the landlord's niece. During your visit to cast spells, you frequently met him. Since the property rights belong to Zurong's family, you have a good relationship with Zurong. Actually, based on my understanding of Zurong, she is not such a big-hearted person. The reason why she can confidently move into this haunted house should be because you, as a yin-yang, I guarantee that the house is completely fine, and she wants to rent out the remaining 2 bedrooms, which should also be your instruction. You have spent 7 or 8 years from high school to now to make such a big deal, with only one purpose, which is to revive Sasha. Yahweh stared at me and didn't speak for a long time. After a while, he asked me in a low voice how I discovered these things. I replied to him quietly, "It's simple. After learning about your ex-girlfriend's information, I looked her up and was surprised to see that her birthday is the same as mine. Your ex-girlfriend was originally the container you chose for Sasha. The so-called resurrection is to find a new body and make her a container to hold the souls of the deceased. Yahweh chose the body of the class beauty as Sasha's container early on, and for this reason, she carefully cultivated a relationship with the class beauty. In several years, she continuously infiltrated various metaphysical knowledge into the class beauty, making her believe in ghosts and gods. The reason is simple. Yahweh told me before that faith can affect a person's strength. The more afraid you are of ghosts, the more they can erode you. Therefore, to succeed in resurrecting a corpse, the borrower needs to believe in ghosts and gods. The more they believe, the weaker their soul becomes, and the more easily ghosts can devour their soul and occupy their body. However, it is a difficult process to make a modern person completely believe in metaphysics. It took Yahweh many years to finally cultivate the class beauty, but what he never expected was that the container would malfunction at a critical moment. Yahweh deeply loves Sasha, and it is so difficult to come back from the dead. She never wants to exchange a body that will soon die of illness for Sasha, so he had to give up the class beauty immediately and look for a new container. That's why he quickly and seamlessly pursued me, but he couldn't cultivate me like the class beauty. Time has passed too long. Sasha's ghost can't hold on. She must make my soul weak as soon as possible. She killed my 2 roommates. I looked at Yahweh fiercely and said the murderer should be Sasha's father. You made a deal with him. That night my mirror reflected on him, so it's not Sasha who gets clothes every night, but Sasha's father. Sasha's father successfully possessed Hue and Zurong and killed them, and their sudden death scared me to death, and I began to completely believe in ghosts and gods. So you gave me the summoning flag and let me enter this ceremony. If I really do as you say, in 7 days, Sasha's soul will successfully replace me. Yahweh, do you know that until the end, these were all my inferences? Until the last moment, I couldn't believe that my inferences were absolutely correct, because there was too much information coming from what the female delivery person said to me. If she is completely deceiving me, I am finished. What really makes me sure that my inference is correct is the mirror you brought. If you use a mirror to collect the soul of a female delivery person, it means that the mirror does have this function. The female delivery person did want to save me. The mirror she gave me helped me avoid the possession of the male ghost. Now, nothing you do is useful. I found a mirror in the cabinet and held it in my hand. If Sasha dared to come near me, I would dare to use the mirror to look at her. Yahuwah stared at me tightly, his eyes bloodshot. Suddenly, Yahuwah shouted loudly, and the soybeans and lotus seeds that I had hidden in the quilt suddenly rolled out, forming a strange formation on the ground. Yahuwah shouted, "Sululu, go and accompany Sasha to the funeral." Accompanied by his eerie smile, I suddenly felt a sharp pain in my head and felt dizzy. Just as I was about to lose consciousness, a soft chanting came from outside the security door. Yahuwah shouted at the door in despair, "Who are you?" The person outside replied that I am a soul chaser. Recently, I have been taking some orders to save souls and support my family. I happened to pass by here and felt that there was business for me to do here, so I took the liberty of coming to my door. I used my last bit of strength to open the anti-theft door. There was a man and a woman outside the door. Before I fainted, the girl caught me. Just before losing consciousness, I heard a conversation between Jija and Yahuwah. Jija glanced at the formation on the ground and said, "Immortal's direct descendant brother. This identity is really extraordinary, so he dares to set up such a big formation and go against Yin and Yang." Yahuwah roared, "You know it's good," coldly snorted, "disciple. Don't compete with your ancestors." The next second, a huge halo engulfed me. When I woke up, I was in a small shop in the alley. A girl in a white shirt was sitting on the side watching me. After waking up, she gave me an ice cream and asked if I wanted to eat it. The ice cream is cold and sweet, with a strong milk fragrance. I took a bite and felt much better. Not long after, the girl who introduced herself as Su Jiaran choked me with one sentence. She said Yahuwah was dead, and I choked on a mouthful of ice cream and coughed, asking how Yahuwah died. Su Jiaran shrugged his shoulders. If he failed to use this taboo technique, he would have been bitten back. From Su Jiaran's account, I pieced together more truth about this story. Yahuwah is indeed born with yin-yang eyes and is also from a metaphysical family, while Sasha is his white moonlight. After Sasha's death, high school student Yahuwah couldn't accept this, so he spent 8 years setting up this scheme, even killing completely innocent Yue and Zhu Rong, and even wanted to kill me, who was equally innocent. This evil obstacle is too heavy. With Yahuwah's fate, he can't carry it at all. So that night, after he activated the formation, he bled to death directly from his 7 orifices. As for the female delivery person, she is Sasha's mother. After her daughter's death, she had no mood to do business anymore and instead started delivering food. Due to excessive longing, she had an accident during a delivery and was hit and became a vegetable. Her body was in the hospital, but her soul lingered at her daughter's door, unwilling to leave for a long time. She found that her daughter's soul had been trapped in this room with her ex-husband and wanted to take her away, but the haunted house had been fixed by Yahuwah. There was a barrier between her and her daughter, and they couldn't even meet once. Su Jiaran told me that the female delivery person taught me the correct way to use a mirror. The reason why I didn't avoid the male ghost kissing me that night was because the direction of the mirror was reversed, and the mirror should be facing outward. But the female delivery person herself is already a ghost, and many of her perceptions are opposite to humans, so she made a mistake and asked me to put the mirror inward. Fortunately, by chance, I saved my life in the end. What happened next had nothing to do with me. Sasha didn't want to harm me, and Sasha's mother didn't want to harm me either. Su Xiaoran told me again that Jia had eliminated the barrier of that house, extradited the wrong soul, and the house was completely clean. He escaped this time and will have good luck in the future. Work hard and live well in the future. Su Xiaoran set me out of the small shop. I squinted and looked at the long-lost son, feeling fortunate to have survived the disaster and a sad sense of loss. After Jia and Su Xiaoran sent me away, we drove to the municipal hospital together. Jia seemed a little tired, so Su Xiaoran drove and asked Jia if he had taken care of everything while driving. Jia closed his eyes and answered, bribing Yan Wang with 2 packs of new flavor potato chips and a box of chocolates. He promised to give Sasha a good family to be reborn. As for Sasha's father, he sold his daughter for glory and has implicated his family. I left a small note for the King of Hell, suggesting that he enter the animal realm. 2 long-dead ghosts have finally entered reincarnation, and 1 living soul needs to be dealt with. In the ward of the municipal hospital, a woman lies quietly there. She is the female deliveryman. The hospital has determined that she is brain dead, but she still has a breath in the mortal world. Perhaps there is something on her mind that she cannot let go of. Jia walked forward. Su Xiaoran stood in the distance, saw the unconscious woman shed a tear, and then the soul completely separated from the body. Jia came to Su Xiaoran. Su Xiaoran asked him softly what you said to that woman. Jia said he just told her some truths, saying that she met Shasha, a very cute girl. Before entering the cycle of reincarnation, Shasha brought her a message, saying that she had never resented her mother. On the contrary, he had always loved her, and knew that her mother loved her. During those years trapped in the room, she was very scared, but later she was no longer afraid, because she knew that her mother was with him in the hallway, and if there was another life, she was willing to be her mother's daughter again.